Hello and welcome to Spectrum TD. It's a roguelike tower defense made by Lord Damage and Arxos. Props to them. They made a fantastic game. We're playing here. There's several modes you can play in this game. Recommend weekly PvE if you want to practice and learn how to play the game. I'm personally playing this on a potato, so if it's a little bit laggy, that's just what I got to deal with. So weekly PvE has very specific layout that'll be the same every time. And in this particular PvE, well, how are we going to do this one? Well, so generally what you want to do in this TD is you want to make what we call 1-3-5, where the waypoints 1, 3, and 5, which is the end down here, are on one side of the map, and 2, 4, 0, and 0 is the start up here, are on the other side. So I'm going to start out. Here we go. So the first couple of waves, you can build in the middle of the wave and it'll actually block creeps. After that, your towers will kind of be ghostly, and you'll see that when it happens. That's to prevent creep juggling. If you're playing competitive, you're going to have the slowpoke as well, so creep juggling wouldn't really be of a benefit there. And we're going to go over some of the basics of this game. So you'll start out, and interestingly enough, there's not a number on how many towers I can build in single player. Now that's kind of interesting. I really didn't know that. Well, you're not supposed to be playing single player anyways. You're supposed to be playing it online. So for the 1-3-5 here, we're basically cutting the map in half. So 1, 3, and 5 are going to be on the bottom half of the map, and then 2, 4, 0 are going to be on the start. And then we're going to have our kill zone, which is the point in between where the mobs have to go through. And they're going to have to go through there like 5 times because of the way things work. And yeah, only 5 times because don't have the relics to make them go through more. So relics are something that you get every wave starting at 3, and each relic will give you a bonus to your towers or to your HP or something. And honestly, I'm gonna... Come on. Well, I'm gonna wait and put it down after then. There we go. There we go. So relics will give you bonuses, like this is a common relic. You can give us a gold income, a range booster, or special effects like this, the Wall of Vines, which I'm going to pick here. So the Wall of Vines prevents life loss, and if you didn't leak at all, it gives you 5 current and maximum life. Very, very useful to beef up your total HP by the end of the game. And let's see, we're gonna... This isn't the best, but it'll suffice. You can sell towers and rocks, although you have a number of rock charges that you gotta work through. So as you can see, they're not really making it past waypoint 1 all that much. Okay, so now we got our first uncommon relic, and so here you see things can start getting a little bit more complicated with what we want to pick. Now I'm going to start out and I got to get a Jar of Souls because this adds to your maximum life as well per every creep that you kill. So it gives 2 life there, so that's 2 current life, 1 maximum life. The current meta is basically take as many max life increasing things as you can, and that way you'll just survive a lot longer than everyone else. Yeah. So now we got some interesting ones here. Spectrum, so Yeah, I'm doing a really bad job of the narration here, but we'll make it work. So we got colors. The point of this tower defense is that there's a bunch of different colors for your towers, and there's a bunch of different colors for the mobs. There's red, yellow, black, uh, white, blue, purple, orange for the mobs, and everything except for black for and green, and everything except for black for towers. You cannot get a black colored tower. Spectrum Scrambler will re-roll the color of the next wave. Can be very useful late game if you have a bunch of blue and the next wave is yellow, or it just lets you do that. Primed rune speed, that's pretty good, but I'm not going to take that. I'm going to be going with the Power Hex because that will enable me to cast this on a rock, which will make the rock gain 25% damage to towers around. Always be on top. Always be on top of your relics. Don't let them lapse because you could miss out on some max HP. Here I'm gonna. This is a tough choice. I'm gonna go with the Mechanical Hammer though, just because it's very early on in the game. And I'm going to. There we go. Open up my tier 5 tower. I'm going to be going for a relatively quick tier 5 here because that is a pretty good tier 5 to get. Toxic Avatar, it's very useful. So generally you have a certain number of towers that you can build for each tier. That'll appear right up top. But because I'm playing single player, it doesn't have that. It also doesn't have my stats, which usually I have much better stats, which you can check by going to progression. See, here it says I've got no stats, but I've actually got, very good stats. Alright, so now with the consumable relics, we've got here a Tome of Frost. Now this is one that takes effect in the middle of the wave. Very, very useful, Tome of Frost. You generally want to be stockpiling as many tomes as you can for the late game. That'll generally be what wins you the game. If you win. Otherwise, you'll lose. So the thing is, 100% slow for 15 seconds to all creeps. And you get 2 charges of that. So that's 30 seconds of the creeps not moving. That's going to be an overall DPS increase to your maze that's significantly higher than every 3 seconds during the waves. One tower gets 3.5% attack range. Or the 10-sided die, which is chance to get a better tower. Basically, you're really much better off grabbing the tomes over basically anything else. And as you can see, I'm kind of going greedy here. I'm only building tier 1s and a tier 2, saving up for my tier 5. This is generally not... Well, it's an optimal way to play if you can get away with it, but if you're playing with other players, you might get slowpoked, which there's a timer that'll start counting down if you're the last one with creeps in your maze, and you got to be careful with that because that can kill you. You'll start losing life if your slowpoke gets too low, and you can be slowpoked really early on if people have a good enough maze. So here we got relics for Leprechaun's Hat, increases gold income, Emblem of the Sun, long range towers gain 10% damage, Abyssal Eye, creeps. This is one of the utility ones that doesn't necessarily deal damage. 20% slow to be 20% chance to be slowed by 75% for 7 seconds upon reaching a waypoint. Potentially very good. I'm going to go with the Emblem of the Sun because I have a nice long-range tower here, and I want to place it right here on this minor decaying rune of mana. So runes, you got a whole bunch of different effects on runes. So the first tooltip here, major. So you got major, you got minor, or it's a color rune or unique rune. So major means that it's going to have 1.5 times rune effectiveness. And so that means you're going to get 1.5 times the 0.5 mana regeneration. And then the second one is tempered, and this tells you how it's affected. So this rune will be rune effect takes place every 3 seconds with 0.1 maxing out at 3 times rune effectiveness. So you have 3 times effectiveness and 1.5 times effectiveness. So So you're going to get a whole bunch of mana regeneration, basically. So now we got, for our consumable relics here, we got red dice. Reroll our current selection of towers at no cost. Yeah, you got the reroll down here. I'm really going out of order here, but I hope it's fine. So you got red dice, rerolls everything to red. Lesser purple rune. This will turn a tower purple. And apply a lesser bonus to it. And a bounty contract for a limited time, creep kills award gold. Ordinarily, you don't get any gold for creep kills. You just gotta kill them, and yeah, you don't get anything. So I'm gonna pick the lesser purple rune because that will give me some control over what colors I have, and it'll be able to give me a bonus. One of the rare relics that was there earlier was the Arcanite Blade, and that one gives a bonus for being next to the waypoint. You want to save your waypoint, the spots adjacent to your waypoint, for your tier 5 towers generally. Again, I'm going to go with a Jar of Souls just to get that max HP. That's really useful. Now you see here, this guy, he attacks 3 times every time he attacks. He also applies the Contagion effect, which gives vulnerability and slow. So vulnerability is a damage multiplier. You click on a creep, well, for one thing, it shows you how much leak damage they're going to do. Vulnerability increases all damage taken. You can get a multiplier on that with certain tier 6 towers. This also shows their movement speed and their affix and suffix and whatnot. So yeah, Contagion, very useful. The Vector's attack means you can spread out some DPS. It will deal an additional 5 times attack damage over 10 seconds. So flat damage is really useful on these guys. You get flat damage through blasting runes as opposed to... Do I have a damage rune here? I don't. So you get blasting runes will give you flat damage, and a rune of damage will give you a percentage-based damage. So towers that have a really high min-max, will benefit more from percentage damage, whereas this benefits more from other damage, if possible. Okay, and now you can see I don't have the icon up here, but it's still, I have a maximum of 12 towers that I can get there. Alright, now I got another tome here, so I'm just going to pick that, but just to show you what the other ones are, we got a gemstone, 30G for each color of tower that you own. It can be worth it to not pick this right away and build a couple other colors in order to get extra gold. The formal document is pretty good. If you save it for the right time, you can get 300 gold or so from see we got 23 swarming creeps coming up, so that could be pretty useful. I'm gonna go again with the tome. It's just really useful, always really useful, and I'm going to get my second tier 5 right here. Now I'm going to have 2 green towers, which is going to make me really susceptible to orange. It shows also here when you mouse over. So green will do 1.5 damage to green mobs. Blue, yellow, and black, it will deal 1.25 times damage. White, it will do 0.75. Purple, orange, it will do 0.5, and red, it will do 0.25. So this is why it's very useful to get the color runes, because it gives you some control over what you have available. So I'm going to be able to toss a purple out there. Maybe I might just take the chromatic key, and then it's up to luck what I get. So chromatic key is this is your legendary relic. You get your legendary passive at wave 13. So chromatic key is fairly noob friendly. It'll just give you a whole bunch of random color runes. So all of your towers throughout the whole maze will get bonuses. Bell of Regicide is pretty useful, but it does not allow you to have any tier 5 towers. But your tier 2, 3, and 4 towers gain a bunch of stats. Now, I don't usually go for it, but I'm going to go for a Dark Codex here. So all rocks are placed with random tier 1 towers. Tier 1 towers also count as rocks. Tier 1 towers salvage for 0 gold. And allows you to pick whatever tower you want. fairly useful, and by fairly useful I mean extremely useful. And I'm going to, you can see here all of these tier 1 towers now. And so that will let me do a lot of interesting things. Let's see, what do I have here? Yellow, matching Rune of Reach, matching Rune of Reach. Alright. Oh, very interesting. So now we have here a Rune Word boost. So this is one time where a Tome might not be the best thing. So Tome of Divinity is very good, but if you have a bunch of long-range towers already, it's not the most useful. So Tome of Divinity is very, very useful. But if you already have a whole bunch of long-range towers, like I said, the use is heavily mitigated. If you have a bunch of melee range towers, Tome of Divinity is fantastic. Rune Word Boost. This will change, so if I applied this to the Minor Eternal Rune of Blasting, it's going to change this from 1 times effectiveness to 3. So that's something that I could do if I wanted. Gnomish Army Knife, also very, very useful. You gain 3 rock charges, you gain 1 rune charge, and gain 100 gold. The rune charge is used to move any one of these runes. You can attach it to a tower. So that way, if you have a tower that you really want to have in a specific location, and you really want to have a rune on it, you can do that. So I'm just going to go for the Rune Word Boost. You can see, so you see how I have plus 32 damage from the Minor Eternal Rune of Blasting. I'm going to apply the Rune Word Boost to that, and now I have plus 95 damage. Pretty useful. Minor Tempered Rune of Mana, so I'm going to want to have a mana tower on this one to benefit from the extra mana regen. So, since we got the codex, alright, now first let me check this. I'm just going to go with the extra gold income. Now if you're a greedy guest, you can just go straight for gold, and just always pick gold. And it'll pay off, literally, with gold. So, that progression isn't what I wanted to go with. So Spectropedia gives you a list of all the towers here, and I don't know if I'm going to go through all of them because, oh, that's fascinating. Now we can just do, I didn't even know that they added this tag filter. You can see all of the long-range towers. These are all the towers that'll benefit from that 10% damage bonus that I got for the long range. And there are actually no long-range red towers. I did not know that. And there are almost all long-range yellow towers. You know, you learn something new every day. Purple has 1 long-range tower. Green has a lot of them as well. See, it's kind of color-coded. The mixed colors, like orange, purple, green, they take some of the side effects from the other colors. Blue is the main mana tower, and purple and green, being adjacent to blue on the color wheel, also get mana. So red is all about short range, so orange gets some short range, and purple gets some short range. White gets a little bit of everything. White gets some short range, gets some long range, and it gets some mana towers and gets some non-mana towers. I would suggest going through each of these towers in the each of the colors in the Spectropedia, learning about them. I'll cover some towers that I want to get. And I should probably get back to the actual game, because creeps are actually getting kind of close. So this is not next to a waypoint, but it is on a rune. Generally, I want to be putting things next to a waypoint because it's just really useful to get that extra stat buff here. I'm going to go to Fortification again. I could pick up a blank rune. So you use this 3 times on some of the various runes that are around here, and you will gain an extra rune charge so that you can swap a rune on over to one of your towers. Very useful. Lesser Red Rune, I'm going to take that because, like I said, I really like to have some control over. I'm going to apply that here because I got mostly green, so now I have green and red. Very useful to have a mixture of colors, especially opposite colors. If you can get primarily opposite colors, you're going to be really well off. And I'm going to pick a tower here that I want, speaking of green and red. And I actually really want to add a Snapdragon. So, because I have the Dark Codex, I can type -RR Snapdragon, And bam, now he is my tier 5. And I'm actually going to place him right here. Maybe not the best place, but this is kind of just a tutorial game, not really going hardcore here. Probably not going to play through the whole map. Going to play through as much as I feel like playing through. Cover as much as I feel like I can. I've probably not covered a whole lot of things that I probably should be covering, but we'll see. So when you select a tower, you can see what its range is, and that will increase or decrease based on what modifiers you have. So you see the orange rune that I placed this on adds 25% attack speed and 30% range. Very useful. And this is getting the extra 10% damage from the whatever it's called that I just got. Passive, the Emblem of the Sun, 10% damage, and it's getting 5% damage from the Mechanical Hammer. So Mechanical Hammer is one you really don't want to get late game because it's all future towers constructed, but I didn't have any tier 5s yet, so it's basically useful on everything. So we got here some more. There's a lot of folks who think Bloody Grail is the absolute best in the game. I went with Codex, so Bloody Grail is pretty useless. Random tower permanently gains 1% damage, and when chosen, a random tower gains 1% damage, repeats 10 times current wave. So very useful, but there's a lot of towers here that it could go to. And I could sell them all, but I can't really be asked to do that right now. I'm going to go with the Arcane Bracers because I got a bunch of mana towers, and they're all right next to waypoints. Now here for our Legendary. What are we going to go with for Legendary? So we've got some green already, so we don't really want to go with another green. For fun's sake, I'm going to go with the Eldritch Being, which is, as you can see, it's N'Zoth. And what N'Zoth is going to do is he's going to turn a bunch of these tier 1 towers into little tentacles. So if you've seen enough hentai to know where this is going, yeah, we're going to get a whole bunch of tentacles. Sorry for going there. I think that N'Zoth was used a whole lot better in this tower defense than Blizzard used him in Battle for Azeroth. Let me know if you agree. Of course you agree, because it's the correct opinion to have. Blizzard really has fallen off over time. So Snapdragon, you can see here, he has this special effect where he will attack all units in a frontal cone. So if you can get him on a very massive rune of dislocation like this, 600 extra range, having him off to the side, he's going to attack a lot of creeps a lot of the time. That's kind of what he's doing here. So we got things basically set up. This is our kill zone right here in the middle. So this is where we're going to be putting all of our powerful towers. And like it says, direct damage or damage over time abilities can stack. Buffs and debuffs do not stack unless they specifically say so. So this damage over time that he's dealing, an additional 5 times attack damage over 10 seconds, this stacks. Every single time you hit with it, it stacks. Yeah, look at this guy. Spitting out, he'll be doing some 1% max life per second for 9 seconds. He's pretty useful. I'm going to be adding in some purple range boosters here because I'm going to be getting some purple towers here. Oh, a bunch of N'Zoth towers here. So N'Zoth probably would benefit a lot from the lesser color runes because all of these tentacles would get them, but I didn't pick that, so... Yeah, so you get a wave, 17, 18? You get to pick your tier 6 tower. Tier 6 towers are the ones that have these so-called forbidden effects, like percentage-based damage. It can be quite powerful, quite useful. Tuned Rune of Speed. So attuned runes are special because they benefit from having rocks around them. And you might notice that we don't have any rocks, we just have towers. And that is fine, because these towers count as rocks. So we're going to surround this guy here. And we're going to apply this rune here, and now take a look at his speed. Yeah, 275, and he's still got 2 more towers to go there. We're going to get a second Tome of Frost here. And then I think we're just going to apply this Power Hex right here. So now this guy gets plus 25% damage from that. He gets 10% for being long range, and he gets 5% from the Mechanical Hammer. And this guy also gets that extra damage. So you can really stack a whole bunch of effects on your towers. You can get some crazy towers going, and that's what we're gonna do as much as we can. And let me see, what kind of tech... See, I actually don't generally pick Codex because I find that it's kind of paralyzing to have access to everything. I personally would prefer to just let whatever tower I get be the tower that I place. And I'm actually going to get myself a Phoenix because they get a nice... Eternal Blaze. Each waypoint, you'll start to have a 35%... Ooh, and we get another Emblem of the Sun. See, I'm going for long-range towers here. And I could go with the Grindstone because I do have a bunch of these towers that benefit from flat damage. So that would do 8 damage for each attack. And then multiply that 8 damage by 5. So that'd be very, very powerful to go for that. But I'm going to go for... Well, actually, should I? Long range? No, you know what? I think I'm just going to go with the Grindstone. Maybe I'll just pick up a whole bunch more Toxic Avatars. Toxic Avatars are actually really good. Also, you don't want to be floating 1,500 gold in general. I just kind of know enough of what I'm doing to be able to get away with it. So, next round you'll see the Phoenix effect is going to put a fire around each waypoint, and that will drastically increase the amount of damage that gets done. Because it increases the amount of damage. I think you can see this guy has 25% increased damage because of the Contagion. That's one of the reasons why these Toxic Avatars are so good. They just apply that Contagion to everything. It's really fantastic. Speaking of, we're going to get some more of them because they are just good enough to keep on getting, and because that's the benefit of the relic that I picked. I'm going to make this one purple, so it's going to get the 25% damage from that. It's going to get 12% damage there. And now take a look at it. There you go. That's pretty nice. Alright, so we got another epic relic here. So, like I said, with tomes being things you almost always get, so here's a case where you don't get a tome. Band of the Seraphim is almost always going to be something that you pick. If you have the option to pick a Band of the Seraphim, it can cover up to 800 life. And there's just nothing else in the game, really, that can deal with that much. So if you see one of these creeps, 100 and some odd damage to the fort when he gets through, and that's if he gets through at full life. And this guy can take 800 damage. Very, very useful. Basically, if you see Band of the Seraphim, pick it. Sometimes you might be able to get it twice, and people will call you a hacker or something, and they'll be very upset because they didn't get it twice and you did. But it doesn't matter. Just pick it anyways. It's worth it. And I'm going to keep on placing more of these. Because why wouldn't I? I have the option to, and they're pretty good. So, this is Spectrum TD. Highly recommend playing it. Highly recommend playing it. It's very fun. You'll almost never... The only time you'll ever play the same game twice is if you do the weekly PvE mode, which is preset. If you do competitive, you will never have the same waypoint layout. You will never have the same towers pop up. Weekly PvE is meant specifically to allow you to learn the map and try and progress up to wave 30, where you'll unlock more things. So you see in progression, you can upgrade. Well, that's the wrong one. So here, by weekly PvE, by completing these, you unlock different things. You see here, now it's that. suppression, spawn area of the creeps. You can just change it to whatever you want. Well, there you go. Oh, see here, now we got green range booster. I'm actually going to go with that instead of purple damage because we have a lot of green range, and it's pretty useful. See, look at that. That's just a crazy amount of range we've got there. And so we do not have any more rune charges, so I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to keep on putting down more and more of these toxic avatars because they're just really good. And you're going to get you're going to think that this is an overpowered tower, and it kind of is, but at the same time, there's a lot of towers that you can do this with. This is just the one. Generally, you can only make 4 of a tier 5 tower, but because I got Dark Codex, I can just spam the heck out of this, and I'm giving up some other legendary bonuses that I could have. And yeah, you'll do a good job if you take whatever legendary relic you pick. You'll be able to do a good job with it. As you can see, this is the recovering wave. So recovering is something that you definitely need to go to the Discord and complain about to Damaging Arxos, because it's the one thing that if you run into late game that you're going to leak a lot. 8% extra life whenever the creeps reach the waypoint. It's really rough to run into. I'm gonna actually have to start in lengthening my maze. You see, my maze is actually really, really short. You should not be going out with a maze this short. See there, just lengthen the maze by quite a bit with just a few towers. You want to generally... So there's one legendary relic which caps your maze length at 60,000. And 60,000 is a good minimum. You should not be trying to make a maze with less than 60,000 unless you really, really know what you're doing and you're trying to kill people with Slowpoke. As you can see there, my wall of vines protected me there. Oh, another rune where bros. I actually kind of want to show you what this guy can do when he is boosted up. Let's take a look at that. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Some towers you can actually five hex towers surrounded with a legendary attune. You can hit the attack speed cap with them if you're lucky. But that is just a lot of damage going out. You can see I'm already at 20%, and they're just barely reaching first waypoint with the first one. Very, very useful, very powerful. And because I do this like this, here, how about... Well, you know what? I'm going to get rid of that and put that there, because we have this tower power hex here, so that's 25% extra damage for this tower. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go like this. And you know what? I'm going to put another tier 5 there for the Eternal Rune of Speed. Just make him have to go through this little area a little bit more. So now this has kind of gotten to the point where you got to wait a little bit for the waves to finish. When you got other people in the game, if you're playing competitive mode, if somebody is clearing the waves really fast, that's going to screw you over. Your Slowpoke's going to start ticking down. If you find yourself dead when you're in a game with if you're a 1500 elo, you know, if you're a new player and you're up against some people that are up in the 2000s, you might find yourself dying and you don't know why. It's going to be Slowpoke. It's going to be because they're killing the waves a lot faster. If you wanted to, you could build all of your towers up top at the very front and try and kill people with Slowpoke early. That is a valid tactic. It is kind of scummy. People don't like that. But it is a valid tactic if you want to win that way. You have a harder time doing a 1-3-5 if you are doing that, but you can do it. And good luck to you if you try. I'm going to get another Jar of Souls because I want to stack that max HP. See, I've already got 1652. Max HP is just really, really, really useful. There's no reason to ever not get max HP. Like I said, I was going to get this Eternal Rune of Speed there. And we're going to make this... Yeah, we'll just go with that for now. I don't really need a maze that's altogether gigantic. We go... So you can see these are the ghostly towers that I was talking about. Creeps move through them, and then the rubble is what where your towers used to be that you sell. So you can still sell the rubble if you want. That's actually a tactic to if somebody's about to kill you with Slowpoke, you can open up a space in your maze and then let your creeps through. That one's not really as scummy, but you might get people that are a little bit upset with you. And here I might actually have to, because this is red and I have majority green, so you'll see that this is a bit painful for me. You see, I'm only at 40%. Because I did not take enough red and red adjacent color towers. That's also the benefit to doing the weekly PvE, is you can just write down what the waves are going to be, and then I'm just going to freeze them all in place here. When you know what all the towers are going to be, it allows you to intentionally build up so that the late game waves you are stronger against, and that shouldn't tell you that you can just ignore all of the other waves, because it is possible to die early, especially to Slowpoke, if you're not careful. And I'll show you here what the Tome of Flooding does. And we go, whee! Everybody goes back to the start. And oh, this guy hadn't made it to waypoint 4 yet, so that's really useful because it gets everybody bunched up for this guy to just go chain. You know what? Oh, I want him to get a whole lot of hits off right there. And I should have done that a little bit earlier. I'm using up a lot of my tomes a little bit earlier than I really should. But this isn't necessarily a game where I'm trying to hit... I'm not trying to hit 36 or something. Generally, you're going to die. If you're a new player, you're probably going to die in the low 20s. If you really know what you're doing, you might make it into the 30s. If you really, really know what you're doing, you might make it to something like 36 or something, but that's generally a lot harder to make it to. So Rock Golems is one that I really shouldn't have available here because it replaces rocks with tier 1 towers, which don't actually do anything for me. Oh, and you can see here, we got the red wave coming up. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to pick this blank rune here. I'm going to eat up this white rune. I'm going to eat up this yellow rune, so that's not in a good place. And I'm going to eat up this gluttonous rune. So gluttonous runes are great. They gain extra power every time a creep dies. They're really good early on. They kind of lose effectiveness later in the game when it starts taking you a long time to kill the mobs. So I generally don't use them as often because I'm more interested in the late game by and large. I'm going to toss this purple rune on here because I just want to have some extra purple damage for that red wave coming up. Let's take a look. So there's some interesting towers. Bombardier here. So there's some interesting towers that kind of have negative effects for certain adjacencies. Like the Bombardier here will do less damage for other towers that are nearby. So, or not just nearby, but adjacent. So Bombardier will do up to 3 times damage, I think. Let's take a look. I'm going to go with... Starting with 5. Yeah, that's just a regular tip. So this guy should count as a rock, so he shouldn't trigger the Bombardier's effect. 3 times damage until end of wave, reduces by 1 for every adjacent tower. So on this red wave, I'm going to get a lot of extra range from this matching 2 effectiveness, 1.5 effectiveness, 35% attack range. So I'm going to get a lot of extra attack range from that, and hopefully my Bombardier can help carry me through this wave. As you can see, I've increased my maze distance a lot, and it really helps with this later waves. And at this point, maybe I'll just go through and look at some of the towers in the Spectropedia. So we've got Tier 6 towers, which are the ones, like I said, with the forbidden mechanics. We'll start off with blue. We'll look at some of the Tier 6s. So the Electro Nexus is very interesting because you would just get a massive amount of mana with this. Especially if you pick a bunch of mana relics, and the more mana you get, the more of these blue balls that it makes. You will get the bluest balls that you ever did have with the Electro Nexus. Lots of blue balls in this one, and it's actually really nice. Whenever the balls hit something, they freeze them in place or slow them down, and whenever something dies, it freezes everything else. Pretty useful. Tide Lord here will slow enemies within melee range. The first time this affects a creep, they're transported back to their previous waypoint. You can get up to 75% slow with this. It benefits from having a lot of slows in. So with a Tide Lord, you want this at the very end of your first pass through of the maze. So before the creep hits, your mobs hit waypoint 1. So for here, I would have this about kind of right here or so, and you want to have this so that they go around the slow the whole time. It can be very effective. It sending the mobs back to the previous waypoint. Very useful. You can, if you pair this with certain relics, you can get really, really useful effects there. So red, we have only one Tier 6 right now. He's the Doom Lord. He is melee. He is very short range. He's melee range, and you can actually get him to obscene range if you stack the right relics. Whenever a creep dies, he gains base damage. He gains more if the creep was branded. So he has the Hellfire brand, which inflicts a creep with a vulnerability multiplier. This multiplier is fantastic. Instead of ordinarily, these vulnerabilities won't stack. It'll just use the highest one. So the 35% vulnerability that I get from the Phoenix, you see it pops up to 35 and then goes back down to 25. There you go. But if you have a multiplier instead, you can get some really high vulnerability, especially if you get like that tome with a 300% extra vulnerability. You can get a multiplier on that even. You can get some really, really high vulnerability going. Auric Annihilator, you generally want this guy to be out of your maze. You want him to be in the corner somewhere, because the first time a creep is damaged by this tower at long range, loses 11% of its max life. So this guy will make some orbs appear around him. Gaze into the orb with the Auric Annihilator. I think it looks like a disruptor from StarCraft 2, I think? Maybe that's what its model is similar to? But yeah, it attacks instantly in a line, dealing a lot of damage. Very useful. The percentage-based damage is incredibly effective on these kind late game waves. Orbital uplink. This tower is fantastic. You want to put the orbital uplink somewhere near a waypoint because you want this to benefit from any waypoint bonuses. So attack speed bonuses and attack range bonuses that you get for your orbital uplink will translate into a multiplier for its damage. You can get obscene amounts of damage on your orbital uplink if you're building for it. Here we got Archlich. This guy can... let's see, I think they changed him, and I haven't used him since he's been changed. When a creep dies, permanently increase mana regen and max mana. Solnado, significantly damaging slow creeps in a moderate area. Creeps hit, take additional damage. So, does this guy not have... Yeah, it doesn't seem to have his instant kill ability anymore. He had an ability in the past to instantly kill enemies at low health. Eldritch Being is what I have. I've kind of already gone over what he does. So green now, we've got Plague Father. This guy also has a vulnerability multiplier. So he really benefits from increases in range as well, because this applies to every creep within attack range. So if you can get him to have massive attack range, that is a constant vulnerability multiplier to everything. Very, very useful. He also benefits immensely from flat damage, because he does like 10 times damage or 40 times damage or something crazy like that on attack. Soulkeeper, he does Spinning Scythe, slows creeps, pretty useful. Gain life and permanent damage whenever he kills, whenever a creep dies. So this guy is very useful if you have a whole lot of mass creep waves, not as useful with king waves. And let me actually close this real quick, because I gotta... You know what? Let's pick the grindstone again. And... let's just... It's not really worth it to do this right now, because this... I'm very close to killing that. Let me see. I want to put in an Ember Forge. Right there, why not? Alright, so... yeah, none of these are really anything that I want. Bounty Contract really falls off in the late game because you're unlikely to kill a bunch of creeps really repeatedly, but I'll pick that anyway because the other options are more or less useless. Back to the Spectropediya. Alright, so for orange, we've got the Dread Mage. So this guy permanently increases his base damage at the start of every... So this guy is pretty interesting. 3 crystals orbit the Dread Mage. They attack the closest creep anywhere in the maze. So this guy's forbidden mechanic is unlimited range. Consume stacks to deal additional damage. This guy also does extra percentage-based damage to creeps. Plasma Array. This one is, I think, absolutely my favorite one. This can be a tower that gets you killed to slowpoke, though. This will immensely slow creeps down. If you place this right, you get 4 of these, as opposed to most tier 6s, where you just get 1. You can get 4 of these, and it'll link in between each of them, and the beam that links them will slow creeps down. And you can get a maze that is really, really good with the Plasma Array. So white, we've got Seraph, which increases attack speed, range for each adjacent cell with a tower. So let's say you have, see, like this guy right here, he is completely surrounded. So that's what you want to do with your Seraph, is you want to completely surround it with towers. You want every single space to be occupied, because that will increase the damage of the Seraph, and each tower that is next to the Seraph will also benefit from being next to it. Very, very useful. Also has an ability to inflict vulnerability to all creeps. This tower benefits from having extra mana, because then you can just keep that vulnerability on. Current maximum mana to all towers in attack range. So the maximum mana is temporary. So you'll get 10 mana. So this tower benefits from having... So you see how the Snapdragon has 40 max mana? If towers that have, a 5 max mana, they benefit a lot more from the Seraph being around, because it just gives them a lot more. So there's a few other towers that have some special effects. So the Purifier is one. He's a melee range tower, but his Cleanse allows him to heal. So there's a few towers that allow you to heal during waves. Avenger is another one. He'll eat a corpse to heal. And if you are at full life, he will eat a corpse to instead gain some damage. Purple, we've got the Void Queen. And you will lose 75 health at the start of your first wave, but then you will consume corpses gaining 3 HP per corpse. You get 5 HP from the Avenger. The Nathrezim, you get extra HP from this guy too, but it costs you 50, so you can't really spam him late game. And as you can see, I'm taking some chunks from that red wave, like I said I would. So this guy, pretty useful if you spam this guy and you have some good color runes on him. You can recover a lot of HP. You have a maximum amount of HP you can regenerate per round, which is, I think, 25% of your maximum HP. So the higher your max HP, the more HP you can regenerate per round. Death Apostate gives you current and maximum life and skills with, you know what, So let's put down some Death Apostates, because why not? We might as well. Gonna add some extra time there. Okay, got a couple of Death Apostates. So as you can see, well, whoa, that added a lot of extra time. I did not know it would give me that much time. There we go. So you see this adds a multiplier of 1.82 because I have 1800 life instead of 1000. So you can get a pretty decent amount of life from these guys. Alright, now this is what I was talking about with putting stuff next to the waypoints. You see here we got the Guiding Rod. 15% attack range if towers are adjacent to a waypoint. Very, very useful this. I pick it almost always. Extra range is just very, very useful. Your towers being able to attack more is just unbelievably beneficial. It looks like I might even possibly, yeah, 70%. I might even beat wave 30 on this, and I'm not even really going that hard into it. So, Death Apostates also, I think I didn't mention it, you gain +2 current maximum life. So you want 5 of these if you can get them to gain 10 life per wave. And if you can get them early, you get them early because that 10 life stacks. It adds up. It takes a while to add up, but it adds up. And they also have the ability to give a 40% vulnerability, so they're very powerful as well. And let's go with another Toxic Avatar because these guys have been good to me so far. So I'm not really going to make it to 36 or anything. I think that's probably possible with this weekly seed. I don't really have an interest in it at this point. Let's get back to the Spectropedia. As you can see, I'm starting to lag. My computer is a potato. Please donate to my Patreon. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to get a new computer someday. So other unique towers that might be of interest. So we've got some towers like this, the Boom Squad. He will lay mines next to him. So his range is actually 1400. So every attack he will lay a mine next to him. Very, very fun tower. It's very similar to the Beastmaster, which will lay traps next to him. Very fun tower as well. There's a lot of towers that are just really fun to play around with. You can get some really interesting things going. So the Mana Gorger, for example, if you get some crazy damage or crazy speed and range on this guy, he will get a lot of mana, and eventually he'll just... Oh, and I'm not going to... See, if I'd been paying attention, I probably could have... Band of the Seraph saved me. And the Band of the Seraph can save up to 800 health. It's not doing its full benefit here, so... You know, but it doesn't matter. Some other interesting towers. I really like the Rift. This guy attacks the farthest tower away, or farthest mob away, and will gain extra damage the further away the target is. You get some yellow range, and this guy can attack really, really far. Really fun to use. You can pair him with stuff like the Troll Hunter, who gains extra attack range for nearby towers. So honestly, that's something that I probably should have done. When you have Codex, you can put whatever you want down. I should have put down extra range for all of these towers. I probably would have lasted a lot longer. You got some interesting ones like the Scarlet Champion. If you play with people who've been playing this game for a while, they will tell you about the Scarlet Champion days, when that is all anybody would build if they had the ability to build it, and they would win. You would just build a million of these and you would win. Similarly, there was also the Rhapsody days, when Rhapsody was overpowered and it would slow towers and then gain extra damage against slow creeps. Gain extra damage against slowed creeps. Really, really awesome, really powerful. There's been a few eras of different towers. Leyline Guardian is another interesting one, because he can attack. He will attack any creep that goes near that hits a waypoint. So you can use this to counter the gathering mobs when they have the. I didn't really get much gathering, but you can use that on them. I'll just show you what the dice does. So I have dice, and I use them. Bam! Now I have all white towers. Radiant Soul attacks 3 targets simultaneously. Attacks deal full damage in a small area. Attacks bounce 2 times. This guy, you want a whole lot of flat damage, because each mob hit takes the full effect of the flat damage. You can get some really high stuff going. This game is just fantastic. Highly recommend playing it. If anybody ends up watching this and makes it this far in the video, go to the Discord. Discord right here. Go to this Discord channel. Tell Lord Damage and Arxos that they're pretty awesome. They're not like the most awesome, because that's for me, because I'm making this video for them. I'm the most awesome. They're just pretty awesome. No, I'm just kidding. They're actually the most awesome. They're really cool. Definitely go say hi to them. Tell them what you think of the map. Give them balanced suggestions, because even though they made the map, they aren't the highest ranked players, and they need us God gamers to tell them what towers are good and what towers need nerfs. They are people who learned to code, and so they spend their days coding when they're not playing Elden Ring or some other, hyped up game. Yeah, go to the Discord, say hi to everybody. You'll recognize my name there if you go there. And yeah, highly recommend this game. Please play it. Please get good at it. Please give me a good game, and make it worth my while by beating me in this game in competitive mode. That's what I love to see. And yeah, oh yeah, when you die, it kills everything. It's really cool. So, and there goes N'Zoth. Bye, N'Zoth. You were much better in this game than you were in World of Warcraft. Anyways, that is it for this game. Thank you so much, and have a good one, everyone.